Welcome back to episode 36 of the Northern Steel Podcast, the Jerome Bettis number 36. Come on in, Jerome. We want you on the podcast, right?
How's it going, Jerome?
Hey.
No, I don't know why you sound.
Jerome was not joining our podcast, especially after that, and also because we don't get any plays. But if you missed the game, we are coming off another victory. Fresh
let's
off
keep it
another
rolling,
victory.
boys.
Fourth one of the year, fresh off a win against the Indianapolis Colts. And if you missed the game because you were too busy scrubbing the lint between your toes all night long, we got the highlights just for you right now. After a decent first drive of the Steelers to go up by 3, the Colts start with the opposite by not throwing an interception on their first throw, but instead waiting to do so on the second. Hey, yo, Pierre, come pick this off real quick. And James Pierre makes a great break on the ball. Somehow this Colts fan can't believe it, like she hasn't been watching this offense all year long. And what the Steelers do with that gift on the next possession is absolutely nothing. Getting sacked twice on the drive by the Ngok 3000, Yannick Ngakoue, further cementing the O-line picks in the draft next year.
Late in the first quarter, Steelers have the ball and decide to run a draw with Anthony McFarland as he takes the ball far away, picking up a gain of 14 yards that brings the Steelers into enemy territory with what may be the furthest Ant Mac has ever ran for the Steelers. This then sets up a 52-yard field goal for Matthew, almost shanks it right, putting the Steelers up 6-0.
On the next Steelers drive, Kenny decides to let it rip, and I ain't talking Beyblades, deep to who else but George Pickens. Great body control to make the catch, and at this point, I'm already unfazed by this. Matter of fact, I expect it. The Steelers continue to move the ball with great balanced attack of rushing and passing, and find themselves in the red zone. Najee screams, "Could a bus do this?" and bulldozes his way into the end zone for 6, putting the Steelers up 13-0 after the PAT, and after I do some busting myself, watching this offense move like a well-oiled machine. Dan Moore may have had not a great start to this game, but on this play he said, "Sit your baby ass down, 44, and leaves enough room for Najee to squeeze into the end zone.
At this time, we'd like to thank our sponsors, as no real highlights are being shown. Gregory's Garbage Emporium. You trash it, we cash it. Call today and you too can speak to a real-life garbage person. Now back to the action. Colts kick a field goal, and so do the Steelers, 16-3. But what is this? A special teams highlight? This could only mean one thing. Isaiah Rodgers returns the ball deep within his own end zone and makes our special teams look like Arch Manning's final high school game. Horrendous. As Rodgers takes the ball to the 40-yard line. That won't happen again, right? This drive sets up what would be a 59-yard field goal, tying the kicker's all-time record. But unfortunately, Isaiah Loudermilk shows off his impressive 12-foot vertical and gets a hand on the ball to block the kick before halftime. Wow. What a play.
And what a disarray by the Indianapolis Colts offense. Coming out of the half, however, the kick return coverage has already been spotty at best, so hopefully they can finally group together and tackle this man deep in his arm. Nah, there that boy go. Thank you, Connor Hayward, for not giving up on the play, but for a team with zero offense going for them, they needed a spark, but instead received a daggum megaton explosion to help put their offense in the perfect position to score a touchdown. Oh, and guess what they do? They score a touchdown. To Jonathan Taylor. Who else? Now the Steelers, now the score is only 16-10 because we can't cover a kickoff this whole game. To some guy they picked off the streets hours before the game. Now look, I don't know why we need a replay of Jonathan Taylor's touchdown, okay? I already know he's good, and I'm not busting anything to this. Let's just move on.
At this point, the Colts can do no wrong, and they throw to a guy who only had 7 receptions coming into this game. And they pick up 14 yards on this play. Lucky for us, Jonathan Taylor ate popcorn prior to the snap as he muffs the handoff. Unbelievable! And somehow, some way, Chris Wormley comes up with the fumble recovery. I simply just cannot believe it. Steelers get the ball late into the third quarter.
But after doing nothing with the ball, the Colts get it back and continue to throw over the middle of the field again and again. It's got to be Michael Pittman, right? No, it's Jelani Woods. What? No disrespect to this man, but he's got more catches in this game than he's had all year long. What are you doing? This is the highest paid defense in the league and have immediately given up 2 touchdown drives to the Colts. Matt Ryan fires a pass to Pittman in the end zone, also to the cornerback in the draft, and now the Steelers are losing 16-17. I am in shambles.
Steelers find themselves in position to take the lead, and on a 3rd and goal, they decide to run the ball with Benny Snell you later as he prances into the end zone. Heard Kenny decided to call the play himself, and my goodness, it worked. But you know what? Who needs an offensive coordinator? Not us. I wish. Please get rid of Matt Canada, Steelers. But you know what? They decide to go for 2. Kenny gets pressure from all sides. He rolls out and on a rope throws a perfect ball to the player known as him, George Pickens, as the Steelers now take the lead 24-17.
The defense holds firm and the Steelers hang on for the W. Every week we'll take a win regardless of the draft position, and there are some things to be positive about, Chris.
Amen. Feels good. I'll take a win any way we can get it.
I will as well. And you know what? It wasn't obviously the most exciting game to watch, but a very solid game. Very old school Steelers football. A good balanced attack, a lot of running. I guess okay defense. And Kenny was making the throws when he had to make them. I mean, of course, there were some drops. Pickens had a couple of drops, unfortunately, which is not like him. Deontay Johnson dropped a touchdown ball. And I think we read that if you don't count those drops, Kenny would have been 23 for 27 with 217 yards and a touchdown. He would have been. Not too shabby. No turnovers again. No interceptions, no fumbles. I mean, things are looking good.
Correct. Another game forward, another game of solid progression from our rookie quarterback. And it's kind of been really refreshing. I feel like week after week, we get to see a little bit more confidence be shown into this kid, and it's really encouraging. He still is going in there. Sometimes he can make better reads, and there's a lot of learning moments for Kenny Pickett there. But, I mean, overall, Dom, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. He's protecting the ball. He's not, going out of his way or overshooting his limits. I feel like he's starting to get comfortable with his offense, and he's actually playing pretty well.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I think, what we'll do, talking about the Colts game, is let's talk about some positives first, because we had mentioned some of the things that need to happen. The running game continued to shine, even without Jalen Warren. Najee had some good runs in there, but also McFarland and Benny Snell really stepped up in this game. McFarland had some solid runs. Benny had a lot of solid runs, looking for him to probably make a splash in free agency next year, because I don't believe we'll retain him, I wouldn't think. But they both played really, really well. Najee ended up getting hurt before the end of the first half, I believe. And they continued to run the ball super well. I mean, there's even a point, Chris, in the game where it was 3rd and short, and the box was stacked. And I was like, God, no, please, don't run it to that side. You're going to do it. I know you are. And they ran it, and the hole was huge. I think Benny had like 20-something yards on that play. And I was like, oh, never mind. Never mind, the running backs did well. George Pickens doing his thing. Freiermuth, a consistent target. Yeah.
It's exciting because I feel like, we referenced the bus earlier, and those days were amazing for our running game. And it was old style Steelers football, which is exciting. But at the same time, I think over the last 3 weeks, we're one of the top 5 teams in rushing yards, which is really cool. Over the last 3 weeks, I believe all 4 of our running backs are averaging over 4 yards per carry, which is great numerics to have for this team. And you know what? Like, I love, even though I'm a big time Najee guy and I want him to get his carries and his yards, I love the the substitutions that we're making in there to give him a break, to keep him well rested, because obviously it's working. The last 2 games, Najee came off of his best 2 efficient games. He got hurt, so, not his fault with the numbers, but he still ran pretty well for what he was in there. And then our guys definitely stepped up. Same with our offensive line. They're finally creating holes for our guys, and I don't know, it's fun. Kenny did not have to throw over 30 times this game. I think the first time this year, which is great.
Yeah, I think that's huge too. And he made the plays when it mattered. Obviously, a couple drops here and there would have been better for some of the plays, sustaining drives, rather. And obviously, he sailed that touchdown on Pickens. That's probably his worst throw in the night. But, again, like, he's improving. He's getting better. And this is definitely his most solid game, top to bottom. Like, he didn't do anything flashy, but he didn't have to. He played solid. He managed the game well. And it looked really good. The running back by committee, like you mentioned, is great, especially with Najee probably missing this next week's game. I know Najee loves to play. He loves to just like go out there anyways. I really kind of hope he doesn't play. And this isn't a knock against Najee at all. I love watching Najee run, and you and me are big Najee believers, but it's more because I don't want him to get hurt more in a season that we're 4-7. There's no reason to like hurt this man more. He's already an older running back too, with a lot of wear and tear from last year. We just saw 2 other running backs do well. We know Jalen Warren can do well. He came back to practice this week, or at least today. So if they can run Jalen, McFarland, and Benny next week, I'm cool with that. Give Najee a break, win or lose, No,
yeah, I agree. Kind of the same situation when Watt got hurt. I feel like we're at the point in the year, yes, we're 4-7. If we do win our next 6 games, which is highly unlikely, you could potentially make a playoff push. I'm not going to sit here and say that's what's going to happen, because it's realistically not going to happen. I'm not playing for playoffs. Let the dude rest, let him get healthy. And then also, like, I feel like we see a lot of development on this team. So, like, let's learn from it and let's build for the next year. And I think letting Najee rest and actually get some time off when we have these other guys who are very capable, I'm all for it. I agree. Let him rest this week, and let's see him healthy the following week.
So the defense started out well, but I'm kind of transitioning to more of like the negatives to take away from the Indianapolis Colts game. And I gotta say, even though they played okay, I gotta say defense is kind of a negative. I mean, for them to be as good as they are, now granted, I do think that like TJ Watt playing is just based on TJ Watt. Maybe he should have just been out all year. Because we know how good TJ Watt can be. He's been kind of absent the past 2 games. I don't fault him for that. I mean, he came back from an insane injury. So I'm not like, why can't TJ get to the quarterback? That doesn't really bother me that much. However, with not really a strong starting 1 cornerback, not adjusting play calls to constantly let people over the middle of the field. Like we mentioned, Jelani Woods, dude had 7 catches on the year. He had 8 catches in this game alone, almost 100 yards, right, Chris? He had 99 yards?
98, yeah.
Yeah, so, and to never adjust that, I mean, I know he's a big target, but he didn't move anybody around. He didn't adjust that at all. Jonathan Taylor's Jonathan Taylor, but he pushed the pile 4 to 5 yards the entire game. The defense, in my opinion, is just not really cutting it right now, which is a scary thought, because when you think about the draft for next year, I think it really starts in the trenches. I mean, most football does, and you're really thinking about offensive linemen. But man, I mean, when you think about defense too, we need a number 1 cornerback, extremely bad. We need some more defensive linemen, because I think Cam's getting pretty old. So we need to tool someone out there. We probably need another middle linebacker, because even though I like the play of Miles Jack and Devin Bush, I still think we need another guy there that can be good as a substitute.
I agree. And now, even talking about that front line with defensive linemen, we do have Loudermilk, we do have Montravius, and then we also have DeMarvin Leal, who has been out, but he showed some bright spots, I felt like, before he went on to injured reserve. So, I mean, I don't know if D-line is necessary, especially in the first few rounds for us. I would say offensively, we need a tackle. So definitely get that. And hopefully with our first 3 picks, depending on where we go with our second pick, I almost feel like our priorities should be like offensive tackle, cornerback, and then maybe even a wide receiver, because I feel like DJ is just not really cutting it.
Right,
You know?
and we'll get to that in a second. But I think the reason why I'm saying D lineman is I agree with you. We do have a lot of pieces out there. Like on paper, it looks really good, but that game, they just couldn't get any push. And I guess that happens every now and then with the game. But what was happening a lot in that game was TJ and Highsmith were crashing the outsides, and then Matt Ryan could easily just step up and make a throw. And there's nobody crashing the middle of the line at all. Ogun Joby was out there, Cam Hayward's out there. These guys are out there who are good at rushing and breaking up, but they couldn't push down the line. And that's where that problem comes in. That's kind of what I'm saying, D-line. As far as the offensive side, like you mentioned with DJ, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm getting kind of tired of DJ. I'm getting kind of sick of his act. The drops, the touchdown drop was pretty bad. Running backwards consistently is also pretty bad. I don't know.
I actually have a little story, and it's not really a long one or one that's relevant, but I'm going to tell it anyway because I feel like it. I was scrolling through Twitter, and there was this Steeler fan who talked about DJ and about how everyone's giving a bad rep or whatever, and about the drops. And I replied, but then I realized that only if you follow this person you can reply. Anyway, doesn't matter. But I was like, it's not really the drops that concern me, because like he always had some stuff with the drops, and then you look at the big picture, and compared to other people, the drops really never mattered all that much, right? Like other people had a lot more drops than he had. People were just really upset about it. It's more so his lack of awareness and his decision making that I feel like has really shown a lot of regression within his play style. Is like the dude tries too much. It's almost like Najee at the beginning of the year, when it's like all you have to do is run forward. And I think on that one play we saw with the Colts where he, had that great catch by Pickett and everything, and he's running and he jukes back and goes back 5 yards. You even saw Kenny in the background. He's being like pointing forward, like go forward. And we end up being like 4 or 5 yards short when he could have had the easy first down. So it's just, he continually tries to do too much. He runs backwards, and that's just something we've seen all year. So it's getting to the point I'm frustrated with it.
Yeah, and now we were big advocates of getting him a second contract. And it sounds weird to like already flip our script, but I agree with you. I'm getting tired of it as well. It's just he's so consistently inconsistent that I could see where getting another receiver could be nice. I know we've mentioned Jordan Addison before. Everyone says he's going to be a high pick. You never know. He's not really doing that great in his USC year, especially with an injury. So you could drop down a little bit later, especially with our Bears pick being as high as it probably will be. You never know what could happen there. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I like DJ the person. If you ever watch Big Ben's podcast, he loves DJ. He constantly talks about how he wants Deontay more involved in the offense. But the chances he gets, I just feel like he squanders. The dude hasn't had a touchdown this year, and he could have had one yesterday, but he dropped it.
Yeah.
So, it just kind of is what it is. As far as other negatives, yes, the offense I thought moved a lot better, but I'm still on your ass, Canada. I really am, because there's still some ridiculous plays especially in that third quarter when we couldn't move the ball. That just didn't make any sense. I believe we had a 3rd and 1, and we ran a HB draw to McFarland. Like, what was that? That was terrible play call. So some of those are still going to be the case. And honestly, you and I, Chris, we had mentioned last week that if they would have lost this game, that Tomlin would be on the hot seat because we would have got out-coached by Jeff Saturday. And it was pretty close. But Jeff Saturday ended up making the most egregious coaching decision by not calling any timeouts on the last drive and wasting so much clock. And that was his big coaching mistake there. Yeah. So they're able to pull it out. So I guess Tomlin, you survive for another week. But again, there's still a lot of negatives. There's some positives with this team. there's still a lot of negatives. And I think that brings me to my point, Chris, is what's getting a little tiring this year is, don't get me wrong, I think you and I are both happy to see the progressions in the offense and see the pieces that work, because I think our mind, Chris, is already looking ahead towards the next year, because this year's done. So we're watching these games to see progressions. Can Kenny get better? Can Najee get better? Can
we form an identity?
Yeah, what receiver is going to step up on defense? Who's going to continue to make plays? Who deserves to stay? So we're kind of looking for pieces for next year. And we read a tweet, Mark Caboli. I don't know if how you pronounce it or not. But he had some tweets saying, like, you guys calm down. The Steelers only beat the Colts by this much, and the Colts are a bad team. It's like, this Steelers team isn't going to the playoffs. This isn't a 13-win Steelers team that, like, barely beat a bad team, or like, oh boy, that's going to come around to bite them because they can barely beat the bad teams or lose to bad teams. This Steelers team is a bad team. Who cares if they barely beat a bad team? If they go and beat the Falcons next week, are people going to say, ugh, who cares? They beat the Falcons. That's what I'm saying. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Who cares if they beat the Falcons? Who cares if they lose to the Falcons? They're not a good team. It's all about progressions and getting better and watching that to build for next year.
Agreed. At this point, a win's a win. You know, we're like you said, we're not a good team, and yet, you know, looking at it how he did, you're playing the Colts. They're still a professional football team. You know, like, they're going through their own struggles, but before that game, they had a better record than we did. So I mean, like, you can't really say that about anybody or any team. They stacked up really well against the Eagles the week before. So, like, what does that mean? We got absolutely throttled by the Eagles, and then we beat the Colts. Every week can be different in the NFL. I don't look too much about it. Like you said, it's all about progressions from this point on, and who cares? Let's look for the new. Let's look for next year and kind of see how we can progress. Right, that's kind of my mindset.
Right, and that's the frustrating thing is that this year is a different year. This team is 4-7. Let's get that through your head. This is not a good football team. No, but we're hopeful that they can become a good football team. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for hope. We're looking for progression. So if they win some more games, barely, don't sit here and think, well, I can't believe they barely beat this so and so, or they won, but it wasn't flashy. Who cares, bro? Look at just look how the players are progressing. Who cares? You know, and if they lose, who cares? Because I know a lot of people want a higher draft pick. I'm not rooting for a loss, but
no, never.
I mean, if we get another loss, does it really matter at this point? No.
At this point, whatever happens in the season happens. Not going to root for us to lose, but if we do lose, I'm not going to be happy nor sad about it. I'll be like, whatever. It is what it is. I will say, you know, I'm glad. I saw less of it, but, you know, it wouldn't be a Steeler game looking back at the Colts without having that holding penalty early on in the game when we were driving down the field to halt us to get a field goal. That was disappointing. It wouldn't be a Steeler game without at least one jet sweep, which happened to work out with Gunner. It actually ended up. And it also wouldn't be a Steeler game without a non-adjustment to our second half defense or offensive play calling. So
I thought you were going to say a Zach Gentry screen.
Exactly. Non-adjustments. Same old
Yeah, exactly. And but there's some obvious progressions. Someone made a video online of Kenny making a mistake in that game because he's kind of struggling with the slant to flat concepts, and then later in the game correcting that same mistake on the same exact play. So there's things they're correcting. I got to point this out too. And I just remembered it, that the Colts defense was yelling out, "These are the exact same plays" in the second half. So
and then we ran the exact same play.
So to your point, not adjusting, not changing things. Luckily, the Colts are a bad enough team that they couldn't stop it. But I mean, seriously, everyone knows we run the exact same plays over and over again. So everyone knows. That's very frustrating. It's pretty bad. I can't even tell you that I think that people are going to be fired. I can only hope. I can really only hope at this point. So let's move on, Chris, to the Atlanta Falcons game coming up this Sunday. Sure. Starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central. They are in Atlanta. Why don't you hit them, Chris, with some of with our favorite topic, our favorite, what's that word called? It's not topic, not subject, but it's, what am I thinking of? Segment. Favorite segment of the podcast.
Keys to the game.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, that was a really terrible setup for you of me stuttering through to find the word segment, but there it is.
Sorry, I didn't know you were going to a segment. I thought you were like trying to transition me in to say like keys and like go into it.
No,
but
that's what I was trying to say. Anyways,
that's all right. That's all right. I don't have many. Realistically, we took a hit at special teams last week, and I know that special teams is something that Atlanta thrives with, especially having Cordell Patterson. I think he just beat the record for like most kick returns or something, which is unbelievable. So he is definitely a threat. We need to clean up that game big time. I don't care if you don't kick to him or you just try to practice that a ton. A key to the game is definitely making sure they do not start with good field position and halting them on any kind of kickoff or punt return.
Yep.
Another thing for us, Kenny's got to stay clean. We've been winning without him throwing a ton of touchdowns, and that's fine. It's been very old school, like early Ben Roethlisberger days, by a lot, like not a lot of passes, not a lot of touchdowns, but just moving the ball and letting our guys do what they do best on the run game. So staying clean with Kenny, still making some good decisions and getting us down the field, so that way we can end drives. And I guess that's my third one, is just ending drives, making sure that when we get into the red zone that we can do more than a field goal. I'll take whatever points we can get, but it's good to get in that 6 rather than settling for a 3. So I'd say those are my keys.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned that before. The red zone efficiency for the Steelers is pretty brutal this year, especially scoring touchdowns. So that would be a huge key. As far as their team goes defensively, the Falcons, I'm not really sure how good they are defensively. I think they're pretty middle of the pack, maybe even below average. Mm-hmm. So kind of the same way we talked about the Colts last week when I was like, I don't really know much about the Colts. I don't really know much about the Falcons defense. I think if they can, if the Steelers can move the ball, they should be okay. I think they can move the ball on this team. I don't know if the Falcons defense has even like really shut anybody out this year. Every score's kind of been in the 20s. Their offense is able to produce points. So hopefully they can still move the ball. I mean, Kenny playing in a dome is always helpful. I think he plays better in a dome. He's more of a dome quarterback right now as a young player.
Yeah, hopefully that adjusts. But I agree with you.
Right now he is. George Pickens coming back. I don't know if he's from Georgia, but in college he went there. So come and have like a college coming back home party for him. I'm sure he'll show out. He might have some family there. So that could be looking good. But the running game, like we said, if Najee is out, Jalen, Snell, McFarland, just the same balanced attack we've been seeing. It's kind of what I want to see. As far as the Falcons side of the ball, this is, I believe this game is right before the Ravens. Do we put the Ravens the week after?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a really poor man's version of the Baltimore Ravens with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. You got a quarterback who can kind of throw, who can kind of run, not nearly as athletic as Lamar, but he can kind of run, and you got to keep him in check. This team thrives on gimmicky kind of plays. The Cordell Patterson runs the sweeps of their own. Their best receiver is also a rookie, and Drake London. Kyle Pitts is out for the season. Not like he was doing much for them anyways. So I guess, but again, the Colts just went off with Jelani Woods. So who's to say that they don't go off with somebody else? But I'm really looking for the defense to step up here. Yeah, really trying to shut this team down. I'm looking for minimal points. I know the Colts just scored 17, and I just said that was a bad defensive showing by the Steelers. Still have 17 points, but I would say 17 and under again is like what I'd be happy with for them to like let up.
I mean, we also did luck out by that fumble, on that 1st and goal. So, I mean, it could have been a lot worse than what it was. And I have this weird feeling that, it's going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, I feel like we will need to score a lot to win just because it's like, I don't know. I've seen the Falcons go off this year and still lose games, but they'll score like 37. And you're like, what? Where did this come from? So hopefully we can neutralize them. Hopefully we can just drive down the field and get some scores. And I don't know. I'm hoping for a good game.
Yeah, that is the kind of weird thing about the Falcons is they are very they're hard to predict. They're hard. It's hard to know what to expect. Their entire team is very mid. It's hard to know when they're gonna pop off or not. So that's kind of our keys to the game there. That's kind of a short little preview of the game coming up this weekend. Again, if they win, that's great. We're stacking wins and we're getting some confidence, but it's the way that we win. Hopefully we're seeing some more confidence in our offense and Kenny. And if we lose, then for all you at home who are hoping for a better draft pick, there you go. You get that too. It doesn't really matter. So
through that,
I say, Chris, there's not much more to talk about. Let's move on to some NFL game picks.
Let's do it.
Okay, what? Oh, finally.
I was going to say, me and our hardworking team over here at the Northern Steel podcast spend hours researching and looking back at, our podcast, and we finally got a tallied up number to where we are so far as mine and Dom's record for picking games. So, that being said, do we want to do a drum roll to kind of see where we're at after 12 weeks of football? And with the results, after 12 weeks, I, Chris, have picked 110 games correctly.
Ooh.
Dom, you have picked 105 games correctly.
No, that's way off.
I have a 5-game lead. I believe it was week 11, which fell and came to your demise because you picked 3 different from me and got 3 wrong that I got right.
No.
Yes.
Oh, no, that's really bad. That's tough. 5 games at this point in the year is really tough to catch up on, especially when you and I pick mostly the same games.
I did give you one because last week when Sam came on and picked for you, I think it was like the Packers game. He said the Packers.
I didn't.
No, I know. Well, you didn't say otherwise, but I gave you the game because I was like, I feel like Dom wouldn't have picked the Packers, so I gave you that win.
I didn't say otherwise.
No, you didn't. But I knew you would have. You're just like, I guess we'll go with this team.
I was pretty sure I wasn't having Sam pick for me. I was having Sam pick on his own. And because I did my own picks as well.
Sure, plus I think Sam's you got distracted, but I gave you that. I gave you the pick because I was like, Dom wouldn't have picked this team.
All right, well, I better make sure that you give me the other ones right too.
I did. I promise.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to this week. You ready?
I'm ready.
Bills at Patriots.
I'm going to go with the Bills.
I am as well. Packers at Bears.
I'm actually, it was just reported that Aaron Rodgers is expected to play.
I mean,
so I'm going to go with the Packers.
I mean, I think I would have gone with the Packers more confidently if Jordan Love was playing, to be honest. But I am also going to go with the Packers. Jordan Love looked pretty good last week.
He did. I think he was like 6 for 9 or something.
And Aaron Rodgers is like high off some drug, and he's got a broken thumb. He's just not very good right now.
That's when he plays at his best.
Steelers against Falcons.
I'm going to say Steelers.
I am as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jets at Vikings.
So I think the Vikings are going to win this one.
I do too. It's hard not to pick them, especially at home.
Correct.
That's like 3 home games in a row. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Jaguars at Lions.
So this one was kind of tough just because I feel like both teams are pretty competitive. Jags obviously came off of a big win against the Ravens last week, and the Lions showed that they can be competitive with teams like the Bills. They're just inconsistent. However, I'm going to go with the home team, so I'm going to go with the Lions.
Yeah, I am too, which stinks because I need different games than you. But I am also going to go with the Lions. Titans at Eagles.
I think from here on out, I think from here on out, I should just have you say who you're picking, and then I'll pick the same. Yeah, I'll just secure the dub. No,
No. You definitely could.
What game?
Titans at Eagles.
Okay, so I think this is an upset. And I was talking to you about this earlier. The Eagles are really good. They're probably the for sure win, I would imagine. But we've seen them lose, and we've seen them be beaten down by good defenses. I think Titans have a good defense. I'm not a Titan believer, but I'm going to be for this week. Go Titans.
I gotta go Eagles, and the Titans are 7-4, and I still don't believe in them. The Titans will win their division, and I still won't believe in them.
Fair enough, but look at their division. So
the Titans could be in the Super Bowl, and I will automatically crown the NFC.
Fair enough.
Browns at Texans.
I pray to God that the Texans pull the biggest win out of their booties. I hope Deshaun Watson throws 100 picks, and I hope he gets yelled at and screamed at from the sidelines. I don't wish any physical harm upon this man because I'm bigger than that. Maybe
at least
I do.
Not on the record.
Yep. But I'm gonna say the Browns. I hope the Texans win, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Browns.
I am as well. Even with Jacoby Brissett playing, I would have gone with the Browns here. But I do hope that even if the Browns win, that Deshaun's just terrible. That he's so bad. Then we got Commanders at Giants.
Oh, he was a toughie. But I feel like even though Commanders are on a win streak, Giants are on a lose streak, Giants still are competitive. I'm going to go with the Giants.
I am as well, unfortunately. I'm being the home team. Broncos at Ravens.
Ravens, unfortunately, go Broncos, but I'm picking Ravens.
Let's ride to another Broncos loss. I'm picking the Ravens as well. Dolphins at 49ers.
All right. This is one where I think you and I are both pick. I don't know. I can't remember. But I'm actually going to go with the 49ers. They're kind of hot right now. It's going to be a good challenge for Tua and company, especially not playing at home. So let's see how it does. But yeah, I'm going to go with 49ers here.
This is one of the best games of the week because it's a top offense versus a top defense. The Dolphins scoring about 30 points a game. 49ers haven't let up any second half points in the past 5 games. A shutout last week. Usually defense wins those matchups, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins here for us to be different. Seahawks against Rams.
Well, being that the Rams are playing former Twins reliever Glenn Perkins at quarterback, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I am as well. It's I think a complete collapse and rebuild is coming for the Rams.
Oh yes.
Chargers at Raiders.
God, gross game. I'm gonna say the Chargers.
It is a gross game, and I had high hopes for the Chargers. I think I've said this before on the podcast. I don't have high hopes for them right now. I don't think they're really that good. Raiders are a consistent up and down team. I pick them, they lose. I don't pick them, they win. I'm picking them this week. So look for Chris to get that one right. But I'm picking the Raiders this week.
And Steelers, if you want a higher draft pick, then you better be cheering for these Raiders and low-end teams to start winning because I'm not going to root for us to lose.
Yeah. You better start cheering for everybody else to start winning, for sure.
Yeah.
Chiefs at Bengals.
It's going to be a good matchup from last year. I know Bengals took both of those matchups, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win this one.
Yeah, I am as well. I have a weird feeling in my stomach with Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon back that the Bengals pull this one out somehow. But I think I'm going to pick the Chiefs too. Colts at Cowboys.
The Cowboys, the gunslingers.
Yeah, I mean, I barely even want to ask that game. Also, that game's on Sunday Night Football. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, gross.
Another gross primetime game to finish it off. Saints at Buccaneers.
All right. And here's where maybe you start catching up because that division is completely horrible. Although I'm going to pick the Saints.
Yeah, and Tom Brady has not played well against the Saints. I think he beat them this year, actually, but usually does not play well against the Saints, and then both teams stink. I'm going to pick the Buccaneers, however. And that's 4 different. That all I need to do, Chris, is get perfect. I'll be behind by 1 game.
There it is.
Easy peasy. Well, thank you for listening to the Northern Steel podcast. Kind of blowing up on some social media pages. So if you want to check those out, you can follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Grubhub, and on LimeWire.
And if you check out Gregory's Garbage Emporium, they are our sponsor. Thank you, Gregory's.
Yeah, you get 15% off your trash compactor, and you get a new Febreze pod for your garbage.
Woohoo, Febreze.
All you have to do is type in the code brown smell.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't have anything better than that. Maybe I'm cutting that out. Okay.
All right.
I'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, following another Steelers win. Chris, do you have any last words?
Go Steelers.
Wow, what a surprise. Peace out.
Peace.